Yeah, it's fixed. Well, put on my dirty pants and my dirty hat and my dirty hoodie. Because, well, got to work today, but figured before work we could come out and diagnose why the old van's a one-wheeler peeler again. But yeah, it's real dirty. So I think the diagnostic portion might be all we've got this morning. Because I was thinking I'd, if it's an axle shaft, go ahead and pull that sucker. But that thing's filthy. Yeah, let's see what's down yonder here. Oh, yeah, just a bunch of mud stuff. So it's also conveniently, ice outside cold. So I probably shouldn't get the hose, hose out underneath there, lest I be freezing my hose. So I don't really know the solution here, but I guess we'll jack the back of that thing up and see which wheelie is peely and which one's freewheelie. Freewheelie, LOL. You know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to explain that. Got a huge puddle. Wow, look at that nice door handle. Door armrest. Got a huge puddle of power steering fluid under this thing. So these vans are kind of notorious for leaking power steering fluid onto the alternator and killing alternators. So no surprise there that it's leaking power steering fluid. But it does seem a fair bit more than it used to did. So it might be about time to look into the power steering on this thing. I really kind of want to go to an electric power steering column. However, the column is just so cramped in this van. Since, it's under the dash, so close to your legs, the pedals are around it, the brakes are directly above it. Not a lot of room in there to fit one of those electric power columns. But that would be a great option for this thing since, well, power steering sucks. Pinion angle on this thing is awesome. All right. Moment of truth. We got her all up in the air. Chill, watch out. Okay, so axle number 1. Parking brakes on. Well, I think we broke the diff. Could be just an axle shaft still. This is turning the drive shaft. But the other axle is turning and actually kind of opposite. So what do we got here? Behind door number 2. This is not spinning. It's spinning the diff. Drive shaft is spinning, but we're not spinning the other wheel. And it sounds terrible. Couldn't hear any of that nonsense from in the van. All right. Well, the gritty sound is actually mud in the brake drum. So that's fine. Okay. Spun the drive shaft by hand, and it very, very thoroughly turned that wheel. Okay, but if I spin the drive shaft by hand, it does not turn this wheel. So, this is our culprit here. But it definitely seems like my weld's broke. Maybe I broke a spider gear? Yuck. So, I was thinking it's going to be an axle shaft. Which at first I was like, well, that's cool because it's a 7.5. Axle shafts are really easy. If I get a 5-lug one, I'll just re-drill it for 4-lug. But the van axle is either the narrowest 7.5 or it's the same width, wheel mount surface to wheel mount surface as the like MA40 Celica Supra, first gen Supra 7.5, which makes these axles a little less common. There's a van being parted out, not that far from me, pretty darn far from me. So if I need an axle shaft, I was gonna go get that. But if it's the Diff, technically that's easier because the 7.5 is all over the place. I would like to maintain the 430 gear ratio or even go deeper. But I guess we won't know until I take it apart, and that's not going to be today. So hopefully we get some, my knees are frozen. Oh Lord. Hopefully we get some cooperative weather this week and we can pull the Diff out. I'm pretty ratchet. I might even just re-weld it, assuming there's stuff there to still weld. It's really quiet, considering it's literally broken. So, okay, that's the diagnostic. We still don't know because we haven't taken anything apart, but seems like both axle shafts are thoroughly intact, and it's probably I don't know, man. I'm a professional welder. I'm very good at that. So, could have just been broken welds or a broken spider, but at least we know nothing. Well, went ahead and bit the bullet and took this thing out back and hosed all the mud off of it. All of the mud. Nothing more enjoyable than getting your rig completely filthy and then breaking it. So you got to get under there and clean it and work on it. Terrible. We'll say, these little guys, they're looking bright green today. Got a little bit of water from the hose action in there. Live and kicking. Real shame now that I've been really dragging this thing through the woods. I am, and you know, cruising at 70 miles per hour on the highway. We're starting to lose some of the character on this thing. You know, chia van. So I guess we'll go ahead and bust apart this rear end. See if we can find out exactly what's broken. See if we can fix it. Get the wheels busted off. Get some jack stands up under this thing. Oh, of course we got to try to coerce these brake drums into coming off. I can't recall if I had stripped these holes yet or not. Doesn't seem like it. Fortunately, I've had this drum off fairly recently because I rebuilt that wheel cylinder. And by rebuilt, it's leaking. I should probably spend the like $2.88 on Rock Auto for a new one of those, huh? I don't even want to touch any of that. Can't tell if it's all brake fluid or some of it's just water from the washing, or if some of that's gear lube. My sense of smell is not very good, so can't really tell you. Toyota! I will say, these things are really easy to take apart. So that's nice. I ought to have this axle out in just a couple of minutes. Okay. There we go. Just like that. All right. Well, nobody's twisted off. Definitely shows some wear though. I want to count the splines on there. I know the trucks use the 27, don't quote me, spline count on the 7.5s. I want to see if the van is also 27, and the Previa and the cars, so I can verify for sure that they all use the same side gears. 2 perfectly still intact axle shafts, which I think yesterday morning we pretty much had determined both shafts were actually going to be fine, which is nice because I really didn't want to use my spare axle shafts because my spare van axle is destined for the T72 wagon. This does need wheel bearings, both sides, pretty bad. It needed bearings before we welded the diff, and well, 1,000 miles of really thorough testing of the welded diff hasn't been any better for them. And well, clearly, testing has shown a weak link somewhere. There's so much mud still on top of that diff. So we'll go ahead and pull the 4 drive shaft bolts off, and the 10 that hold the third member into the housing, and move on to the next step. Alrighty. Now, the unfunnest part. Oh man. Whoever did this last time really glued it in with RTV. Wow. Permatex Ultra Black. It's the right stuff for every job. Sponsor me, Permatex. Sheesh. New plan. Got it. Whew. Got me winded. Oh, God. Come on. All right. Well, I really don't want to reach around in here, but oh, we got fragments. Yeah. Great. Lots of metal fragments. That's good. Kind of all feels like weld though, leading me to believe whoever welded this sucks. Didn't make any noise though, which is impressive. Sure wish I had brought a rag down here with me though. Hello? Yes. Okay. Well, what do we got? This is what we have found in our case here. We've got weld with what appears to be a piece of spider gear on it. Weld. Possibly a piece of spider gear. And oh yeah. We might not be in the best shape in there, but well, we won't know until we get it all out of there. No penetration. Story of my life. do some magnet fishing. Oh! In the event that you do absolutely frag a diff, it is always best to try to get this housing as clean as you possibly can before ever running it again. And realistically, the only right way to do that is pull the whole thing and be able to put it at any angle you need to and really get in there and clean it out. You could probably take it to like a radiator shop. They could probably, holy cow, there's so many fragments in here. They could probably throw it in their vat and get an axle shaft housing, whatever you want to call it, axle housing, fully cleaned out for you. But all this stuff I'm pulling out right now is the kind of stuff that's going to go through bearings and go through gears and absolutely ruin the lifespan of an axle. So, got to get as much out as possible. Obviously, I'm not going to pull the whole housing out and clean it. Because, well, we know how I roll. Oh, good night. We really did a number on something, though. Gray peanut butter. Well, that's fun. Well, the good news is we are going to have this bad boy back on the road today. We didn't actually break a single thing. Some guy just really can't weld. So yeah, good news, no problem. We'll clean this thing up, weld it again. The bad news is, well, I'm still the same old welder and same old welder. I think I don't have a 220, 240. I have an outlet for one, but my welder is only a 110. Seems like I struggled to get this hot enough in here to really melt and get some good penetration. So we're gonna have the same issue doing it again. The ring and pinion look extremely good. All the bearings still smooth, really smooth. I went ahead and used the hose to blast this thing out as good as I could to really try to get any metal shavings, chunks out of there. It's crazy. This thing, we could literally stick it back in the van and I guarantee you we got 40,000, 50,000 more miles of just a regular open diff right now. The welds broke completely and they've passed through enough times to where the gears have almost completely polished themselves back to normal. The bearings are surprisingly good. So we'll go get some brake parts cleaner. This time maybe we'll hit it a little longer with the torch before we try to do the welding. Maybe try to turn down the wire speed. The amperage was all the way up last time, so I don't really know how we're going to get it to penetrate better, but you know, you do what you can. Give her the beans. So, yeah, gear lube, brake parts cleaner, and another round of welding in. And we ought to get this thing back on the road today. Got like 6,000 little metal splinters in my hands. So, yeah. Just know, in this scenario where we've fragged just a bunch of metal inside there, without cleaning extremely well, and without replacing bearings and gears, this kind of thing is very likely to take a lot of life off of the differential components in there. So, you know, be ready for that to be more routine unless you really clean it all out. So, since we're not gonna three reelies clean all this stuff out, I do expect more failure in the future. Not too concerned. I plan on axle swapping this van at some point. That being said, this 430 gear set that's in it, I kind of want to use in the Corolla at some point. And I'm still not too worried about it. If it comes down to it, we can rebuild all that stuff. But it really, when it broke, seemed to be all pretty much immediately. And it's only got, you know, 30 miles street use. since then, which is a lot. Plenty of time for stuff to go everywhere, but, you know, better than 50 miles. So, I reckon we'll go ahead and bring the differential in here, try to get some heat into it, and crank up the welder and see if we can't do better the second time. Well, we tried to chase the heat a little bit more this time. Definitely stayed in there a little longer. Really sat on the cage to get some heat. The problem with staying in there so long and really burying it is the amount of slag it creates. Schliggity. I don't know. The junk. So went through here for quite a while with flathead screwdriver, wire brush, and a hammer, and just kind of tried to chip out any slag that I could find. What I've really done is verify for sure that next time this fails, it is catastrophic. I don't think it's going to fail as far as the welds this time, but I was pretty confident last time too. So next time it fails, it very well could just be bearings at this point. We've now filled them with chunks of weld and pieces of spider gear, and now tons and tons and tons of slag. And, you know, subjected them to like 2,000 degrees. So, yeah, it's probably fine though. Go ahead and hit this thing with a bead of RTV, get it back up in the van, and then go break it again. Well, we got the old girl back in there. Give her a couple of security taps, get her the rest of the way in there. And, well, just our retainer plate with our 414s. Should probably let the RTV set up for a little bit. So maybe I'll run to the Home Depot for a little bit. Kind of want to grab some of that cardboardy, flimsy kind of plywood. See if I can't make a new door panel for the passenger side of this thing. Because, well, got to get the passenger cup holder armrest in here and test that one out too. Of course. There we go. Never start your nuts with your impact. Everybody knows that. Maybe one day we'll do an actual brake job back here. Probably not, but maybe. Can't forget those. That's for the drive shaft. Whew! I'm weak. These are only 30s. They're actually taller than the 31s I used to have on my hard body. But I'm sure they're only 30s. I would say that the big jiggly mass of these tires maybe also coupled with the fact that both of these wheel bearings are kind of bad may have helped send a lot of driveline shock through there, break those spiders apart. Maybe I'm just really bad at welding. But this thing, I mean, you can see how much it shakes just doing that. So this thing doing the donuts and burnouts and all that silly nonsense that we love to do in this thing so much, you're going to get quite a bit of shake, harmonic up through the axles. And you know, same thing as the impact. all those little vibrations are what really help free things up. So I'm just going to say it was that. Wheel hop, jiggly wigglies. That's what broke my welds. Not my bad welding. Definitely. Made it about 3/4 of the way to home depot before I really thought about kind of being optimistic that they're going to have a sheet of this fiberboard that fits in the Corolla. Strange choice of vehicles. Anywho, they did. You know, 4 foot by 2 foot. Boom, we're in there. If you don't look too hard at it, almost looks like I know what I'm doing. I don't. Well, I was gonna try to be all, you know, official like and reuse these snaps, but they are all really, really rusty and crappy from that window being down the whole time this thing was parked. So, I'm just gonna screw this to the door. Another thing I didn't think about is I don't have any kind of spray adhesive. It's gonna look like crap. Yeah. Can't even tell that's all made and crappy. But we got the other Land Cruiser door handle on. It's it would probably annoy some people that they're not going to be in the same place on the door from side to side. It doesn't annoy me though, because I think as a passenger I'd rather it be a little bit farther back because you don't have your hand up on the wheel. Who cares? Anywho, guess let's get some differential fluid in this thing. Get her on the ground and done. Did. Dang. Donuts. With the pinion angle as steep as this thing is, the fill plug's pretty low and far down on the differential here. So took the vent screw out, vent cap, vent, you know what I mean. And we're filling it in from up there. Got her wedged up there. Yeah, you know, get about an extra half quart in there after it was pouring out of here. I got we're jacked up as high as I can possibly get it, and there's just, it's so low. So I'm sure that's not part of the reason it failed last time, but you know, extra fluid, kind of nice when you've got a gear set that you're gonna beat the crap out of. So extra sauce. Notable mention, I don't believe that the extra sauce I put in there is actually more than the capacity of the axle. It's just enough to get it to probably closer to where it's supposed to be. But with the pinion snout so steep up in the air, I worry that I'm not getting enough fluid up to the pinion seal, pinion bearings. Obviously, it's probably a storm of crap going everywhere in there when you're driving, so probably worried for nothing. But that little extra makes me feel better about lubricating the pinion. I had always felt like I didn't quite have enough in last time because of the fill hole being so tilted back. So, overfilled? Probably not. But, let's go break it. Yep, it's fixed.